The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Formerly means in the past. But anyway, good morning to you on a beautiful, hot in some parts of the country, cold in other parts, the stormy weather in some parts, but a beautiful, very humid weekend down here in Tampa, Florida. We say good morning to all our Facebook friends, everybody. And we offer our condolences to my partner, Clint Parrish, and his family today. They're funeralizing Clint's sister. And so he won't be here. Our hearts go out to him. I know some of that family, and it's a tough situation. It's interesting that one of the things that we don't teach our children as much as we should is that when I was in elementary school, my man, Basil, I learned the 5 stages of grief to deal with issues, you know? Not only just death, but sickness, marital breakups. It's just a plethora of things that you go through grieving. Loss of job, loss of income through no fault of your own, or loss of opportunities because you got into unforced errors. So we need to teach our kids and others about the stages of grief, because the length of time it's not set in stone. So we want to, Clint, we with you, my man. You're going to be all right, my brother. The Lord finds a way to heal us up and lift us up. So it's one of those things. But today we want to remind everybody this is the last weekend of spring break. Of course, this is the Easter weekend, Good Friday, the whole bit. And I'm just not sure. You know, everybody deals with it, a lot of religious services, a lot of spiritual services, and stuff like that. And so it's that kind of thing that we have to, you know, look forward to going to. We want to remind you, I'm just looking at this beautiful front page. I see everybody there that looks like a singer or a musician except me. I guess Daryl forgot with this deep voice that at one time I didn't know how to sing. You know, those lovely romantic ballads late at night. When you knock on my door, you know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, the In Touch News, you see it, it's out, people. It is out. It's 2 things. Look at this beautiful thing at the Uptown Music Festival over at the University Area Community Center, May 14th. And then on the back page, this is going to really be something. April 30th at Rebirth Church right there behind Irvin, 1924 East Comanche Avenue. And they got the Sankoff Cultural Spring Festival. Now, look, this is what we talked about last week. We need to support our own. These folks are doing that on both ends, you know. So it's one of those kind of things. Now, this subject, it's a tough subject, but we have to deal with it. Our number is 813-444-9588. We're on Facebook. Again, 813-444-9588. What I want to talk about this morning is a very sensitive subject, but we need to talk about it. And I'm going to give you an idea of what's going on. First of all, I want to remind everybody that if you go to Politico.com, that's like the Hill, that's like the Washington Post or whatever. There are 3 articles in there in their magazine called The Next Great Migration. The 3 headlines are Black D.C., the truth is always more complicated. Black D.C. is gone. That's District of Columbia. The D.C. black churches are losing their congregations. Blame gentrification. Really? If you like the church, it doesn't matter how far away it is. I know people go to Bible-based Carrollwood. that lives in Temple Terrace. But anyway, they have that. And then Washington was an icon of black political power. Then came gentrification. So now, in case people didn't know, D.C., the black population, D.C., formerly known as what? Chocolate City, the mecca of the DMV area, that's District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia area, is only 41% black now. But the reason why I brought it up is because when you read those articles, you will see over and over again about the issue of gentrification. Now, that's a subject that people talk about because they say white people taking over. But look, a lot of black folks own property in D.C., always have. Think about it. In the 50s, even post Reconstruction, Beazle, our families was taught that one of the most valuable things you had as far as influencing the whole bit was owning property. So, you know what I'm saying?
And generational wealth.
Right. In general. Okay, so now we go to 2022, and they say, well, white people taking over, what have you. But what people don't say, and when you're going to tell the story, you got to tell the good, bad, and indifference, is that the new generation of young people and those in their 40s, when they look at things, they are choosing by their own accord to sell to whoever they want to. That's part of a capitalistic society. Now, if they sell to a bunch of white folks and they look at the white folks that have their coalition together to buy this property versus black people who won't put a coalition together to buy and improve the property, as an owner, you're going to do with what you think is best to protect your future wealth and what have you. And so I tell people all the time, gentrification is not as racist as a lot of people think. Why? Because if you have, for an example, you own your own property, only thing you pay is property tax. Well, everybody knows property tax goes up as investment changes. But you're not really forced to sell. But if you choose to sell and you sell under the value of the property, because what happens in minority neighborhoods, they will sell their property right then and there without looking at, if you hold on to it for a minute, your investment, your sale will be even higher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that happens. And we don't teach that. We don't deal with that like we used to. So when you look at the brownstones in Detroit and even Detroit, New York, D.C., like this drop, it says to me that you have people coming in, they buying low and selling high. That's America. You have areas that where we don't have coalitions to save our neighborhoods, rebuild them. That's on us. Because I've always wondered, we have a lot of black wealth in this country.
Yeah.
We have this big issue about affordable housing. But you know what we don't have? Totally black coalitions doing something about it. For an example, if we organize and we do a $20 million investment, and we got 5 brothers that put $4 million in each, and we secure this land in the state of Florida, and say, hey, we want to put low-income housing, workforce housing, senior housing on this big tract of land.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guess what? The laws are set up that if this coalition was serious, then what they do is they test the state law that says, okay, if you got all this going, then you can qualify for tax credits, electric bill tax credits, whatever the case may be, if you keep it for 20 years. But we don't do that. And so then when white folks come in and say, hey, we're going to have workforce housing, we're going to have housing for first offenders, we're going to set aside 20% for low income and senior, then we say that's gentrification. I always wonder why we're so reluctant to criticize people that look like me and you, that have money, that they're spending on a lot of things, but they won't reinvest in their own community. See, that's an issue for me.
Yeah.
I know it's racism out there, and I know now they're mad because the Arabs and the Palestinians and whoever are coming over here buying property and all. But it doesn't stop us from buying property, you know. So it's a crazy situation. When you read about D.C., a lot of the investment is just not all totally white folks. You got Somalians that have come in and invested. You got Arabs that have come in. You got other people of color that come in different areas of D.C. that say, hey, we're going to lift this neighborhood up. But there's never been nothing stopping us from doing the same thing, or working together with legislatures or whatever, and create a comfortable environment where we can take advantage of all the tax cuts, all the tax credits and all, and do the same thing for our neighborhood. But somehow or another, due to personality conflicts, we can't do that. I give you another good example. I had a brainstorm the other day, and you tell me what you thought. I said, all this money that the millionaire that paid off all the students' money at Morehouse College, and this guy, they're talking about he may even buy the Broncos for $4 billion, the whole bit. And I'm thinking about, here, this world's richest black man, and I said, now what's stopping him and Michael Jordan from coming together, putting together some affordable housing? If they wanted to put a charter school in like LeBron James, coalition of public and private money, all of that. Even if they put with Michael, and Michael uses influence, say, hey, Nike, we want you to join in with us and put in a entrepreneurial business modem or what have you at this elementary school we want to build. See, that's how you use influence. But you know what? We don't see that. What's your thoughts on that? Because then when we get locally, I'm going to give you a couple of cities that you see the same thing playing out. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts. I don't have thoughts on that. That's.
But that's when we teach. To me, when we teach those behind us, we have to. It's just like the stages agree. We have to point out to those that within our own community, there are stages of grabbers, deniers, the whole bit that keep us down. Young people get their parents' houses or their grandparents' houses, and they say, hey, I want to go out and live in the suburb, and they quickly sell it.
I mean, that's just.
But that's, and then we say, well, it's the other people fault. No, if the person, the young people decide they want to go out in a wetland area and build a new house versus staying in the city where the property, you can avoid the floods a little bit, but it happens.
It happens.
Now, the other thing, and we're going to really get into this after the break, we're going to go locally, and we want you to call in 813-444-9588. We'll come right off the break. We're going to talk about a tale of two cities in the black community, St. Petersburg and Tampa, Florida. And we'll be right back.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer. I got the men to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe me. 100 down, 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pen of sundown. 1-800-361.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Touch News Radio on a beautiful Easter Saturday, pre-Easter Saturday morning here, 813-444-9588. And Clint is out today, but yours truly, Pete Edwards, is here. Conservative as I may be, but I'm here. This second phase, I want to talk about something. As we told everyone, if you go to Political magazine, political.com, you're going to see a 3-section thing on the next great migration. Black D.C., Chocolate City, is gone. The truth is always more complicated. D.C. black congregations, churches are losing their congregation, blame gentrification. Then they have another article, the Friday cover says Washington was an icon of black political power, then came gentrification. And before we get into something locally, I want to talk about this second one where they talk about D.C. black churches are losing their congregation, blame gentrification. No, I disagree with that. You can have a church in an area that's changing, powerful black institution. People go miles to attend a church if they feel the church is connected to the community, the good and bad and the indifference of the community, and they got something going. So gentrification may come, but that's not the reason, I think, and this is me talking, while our churches are losing their congregation. You know, you got a lot of people that prosperity churches. They go to T.D. Jakes. They go to a lot of them that preach individual prosperity and the heck with the group prosperity, except every now and then if a storm or something like that comes through. But here's my take on that, listening audience. The mainline black churches are losing people because they're disconnected to what their purpose is. We will say the doors of the church are open, come as you are. But for years and years, even now, there are black congregations that do not welcome returning ex-felons. They don't welcome. Grandmamas, great-grandmamas, and great-granddaddies have helped fix the church up, put their penance in it and all. But there are churches that frown upon ex-felons coming back in. Now, how do they do this? They don't say, we don't want you, but it's the way they treat you. It doesn't take a business. It doesn't take a guy long that's been in prison, been out on his luck and all like that, to walk in somewhere and see the icy look and all, and that it gives a sign that you're not wanted, you're not welcome. I mean, it's there. So they have that. Then we, for a long time, whether we agree with it or not, for a long time, black churches, mainline black churches, old denominations, have actually outright scorned black people who are gay, whether they're lesbian, gay, bi, whatever the case may be. But the interesting hypocrisy about that is that the musician, head musician, may be gay. Okay, we tolerate him and pay him a salary, or her. The assistant pastor underneath may be gay until he flushed out at a hotel or something like that. But then we say, hey, no, if two women come down to the altar together to pray, no, we can't have that in here. That's the hypocrisy of that. And so, you know, you got churches losing people. I'll give you a good example in Houston, which is probably the third largest city in the country or whatever. It's like the new, it's not really new, but the black chocolate city of the South versus D.C. An extremely high percentage of black gay people that live there. But you know what? What they're doing to rebuild their community, they're doing it in churches that accept them for who they are. See, you can't say come as you are, and then you put all those other restrictions on there. You can't say the church is a safe haven for those who are despair those who may be in need of assistance with the light bill or groceries or whatever, and then you don't want to provide it because you're sending all the money up to the top of the church versus keeping it within the local community. So you got that issue. That's a lot of reasons why young people have figured it out. It's been there for a long time, but we've never liked to talk about it in our community. They figured it out that the church is no longer a spiritual place. It is more openly now as a place of business. And even locally in Tampa, I give you a good example. They had a historic black church that I'm a member of downtown. We own the whole block. They tore down a school and put a historical marker, but the black church owned the whole block, a big city block in the heart of downtown Tampa. The way the denomination, the AME church denomination is set up under their constitution or whatever, bylaws or whatever, the AME church owns all of the properties. Now, for years, not only in Tampa but a few other places, these properties, they never tried to improve or build upon or what have you. Had an opportunity to put our own affordable housing, and I want the listening audience to hear this real good, not from what I heard, but painfully what I saw up front. We had an opportunity to build our own affordable housing. Bishops come and went. But guess what, Beazle? They wasn't interested in doing that. Now, when the congregation drops to where you may have only 30 people attending after the first Sunday, bills got to be paid the whole bit, lights, water. Then all of a sudden, hey, well, we can't afford this. We need to sell. Now, the local congregation can say, no, we need to stay here. Y'all need to help us get some funding, government funding, housing on this site, the whole bit. No, we're going to sell this property. Black people now, because I deal with my community first because we need to get stronger. So guess what they do? They say, okay, we're going to put the church up for sale. Now, a developer comes in and say, hey, look, this is a historic site, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. We want you to join in with us in developing this site. We all put in $5 million or whatever. Oh, no, they couldn't do that. But we own the whole damn block. So people come by and say, what happened? Y'all let the white people take it? No, we gave it to them. And so young people see that. And they say, well, heck, it's the same commercialism, the same capitalism, and anything else. Now, fast forward, and I'm going to tie it in real good. The AME Church worldwide got a big scandal going now. They're missing over $35 million or $30 million of pension funds for the preachers, retired preachers in the whole bit. Just disappeared.
35 mil?
At least.
Gone.
Okay. They discovered it when they changed leaders. All right. That money is not insured the way it's set up by the federal government or any fiduciary like that. Now, you think about all the little churches, the little pastors and all, that the AME headquarters say, hey, this is our budget. Bishops are making over $100 and some thousand a year. We want you to put in for the pastors their retirement fund. We're going to invest it for you. And all of a sudden, change in leadership comes in, and then discovered, oh, hell, where did this 30 million, 35 million? It hits the paper all over the place. Mm-hmm. All right? So when it started hitting the papers, of course, like any other organization, white or black, they get a press director, somebody want to make it as, say, hey, we got this, the whole bit. But here's the thing that's interesting. Part of the proposed plan to get this money and get a loan to reinvest so these people, and because you got some pastors are suing them, say, hey, where's my money? The whole bit, somebody here need to roll it on. So they come back and say, well, we're going to find a way to get a loan or whatever to invest, to get this $40 million back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's one of the things they propose. We got a lot of property that we may need to sell and put that money in a pension fund. So I give you an example. Let's say like the church that we have. They find some property from one of the other churches somewhere. I give you a local example. Let's say Allen Temple down there on Palm Avenue and in Ybor City, that big, pretty pink church, Reverend Dames down there doing a good job the whole bit. If the AME Church, General Church, decide with the baseball team coming across the street and the whole bit, we're going to put Allen Temple up for sale. Hell with what the local congregation thinks or not. Guess what, Beetle?
Mm-hmm.
They can put that church up for sale, take all that money like they've done before, and say because of our bylaws, no matter how hard the local church works, we don't care what you thinking on. We're going to put this church for sale. If we get $5 million of it, we'll give y'all maybe $500,000, or y'all can merge with another church. And they can take that $5 million and use it towards rebuilding the trust fund. And it's all legal. So when people see that, they begin to see the church as more of a business versus a church of salvation and hope. You follow me now?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. So when people talk about gentrification, the whole bit, why black churches, the main denominational churches, are declining membership, a lot of the times, and I can speak specifically because I'm an AME for the AME church side point of view, is that they always have had for years inflated numbers. And you know why? Because it was more popular to be the number one church on the district, even with inflated numbers, versus what reality was. So you get young people and millennials and everybody, even old ones, they go and move somewhere else and all. So that's another issue that when you talk about, we're hurting ourselves with unforced errors. The whole city block. And guess what? Before we go to break, city, state, county officials have long decided that in that area of downtown Tampa, because of the historic nature of the church, you can't tear that down, and because that was part of a upper black middle class business section along with Central Avenue and all, that they can have that. And we gave it away.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff. Now, when we come from break, I'm going to show you a tale of two cities today, St. Petersburg and Tampa. And two streets, they both named 22nd Street. You hear me, right? But
22nd Street.
one in Tampa, one in St. Pete. But what a hell of a difference. So we're going to go to break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about that. And we want everybody to... I wonder if Daryl can maybe have me MC this Uptown Music Festival. You think my voice would be good for that?
You got a good voice.
Yeah, but it's not getting me any extra digits. All right, 813-444-9588 is yours truly, Pete Edwards with my man Bizzle. We're on a beautiful, it's hot. Drive careful, folks. A lot of drunk people. Easter weekend, they get drunk during the daytime now. More and more. And we'll be right back on In Touch News and Radio.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer. I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe me. 100 down, 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pin of sundown. 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point. for it, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Now 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Hello, Tampa Bay. This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch You.
All right, everybody. Good morning again. We're going to our third segment of In Touch Radio. Straight up the middle, your two Douglas Plant is out today. Our condolences again go out to him. We've been talking about Bezel. We've been talking about some issues that, in my opinion, that we run from in our community. And so what happens is when we don't deal with it, younger people who are more socially active now on the websites and all, they look at us and say, hey, we're not telling the whole story. And we need to tell the whole story. And I've been talking about the decline. People didn't realize that D.C. is only 41% African-American now. The formerly known as Chocolate City is still there. And I was in one of the articles that they have on Politico talks about black churches, are they losing members because of gentrification? No. If you got a church going for yourself, it don't matter. I give you a good example before we go to something locally. In Fort Washington, Maryland, which is a suburb of D.C., they got a complex up there. It's an AME church. The wife is a pastor. The guy's been there, could have been a bishop, whatever, but he's been there now about 20-some years. Started from scratch. Ebenezer AME Church. They own probably about 8 city blocks. School, big church, everything. People come from the city. They come out of Laurel, Maryland. They take the interstate and all to go there. Why? Because their programming and everything else is there. Another good example. A lot of historical fact. When the Washington Redskins came to Landover, Maryland, that's what it used to be called. I used to go see Wes Unseld and the Washington Bullets play right there in Landover, Maryland. The Redskins came and put that stadium out there that's still there now. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the media area surrounding that stadium, including close parking area, is owned by a black church. Bishop John and Betty Peoples found that land in the whole bit, and they say, hey, we're not moving, but we'll work out something with the Redskins coming in. It's called the House of Prayer. Their membership at one time was 18,000. Then it dropped to 15,000. But here's the thing. They get revenue off the immediate parking because you can park on their land and walk over to RFK Stadium. You don't even need the train or whatever. They got a nursing home. At one point, just like Pastor Granger up in Fort Washington, Maryland, at least 35 different ministries, at least. They deal with the homeless. They deal with the gay population. They have in between. I was there one time at the House of Prayer between between the two services. Right, they had a job fair on a Sunday morning, 4,000. When you go up to Granger's Church, they got a ministry for everybody: divorced couples, senior citizens. They even have a kindergarten for disabled kids. All of that. Those are black churches that are doing something. So people come from everywhere else to support them. Those companies and corporations come and support them. And what happens is that they are in line with those who are beginning to slip into the past, the present, and the future. But when you don't do that, the local example is here. When you look at these, whether it's Progressive Baptist, National Baptist, AME Church, and they claim we got 2 million members in the whole bit. But those are inflated numbers. But then you look at the body of work. If we really believe in the teachings of the Bible, the body of work speaks for itself. But it doesn't happen like that. So then you got this split and this hypocrisy in the whole bit. But that example locally, and I'm worried throughout the country, how you got a pension fund that you never secured with federal backing because of the way it was set up. And now you're going to say, hey, we got to cut the bad relations, so we're going to get the people, the preachers, their money, and other retired officials their money, get a loan for $40 million. You can't do that unless you put your churches up for sale and vacant land. And remember, the AME Church also owns some colleges, like Edward Waters in Jacksonville, for an example. It's got a football field now and the whole bit. I can remember as a kid and a young college student, every time I turned around, the Episcopal District out of Jacksonville for the AME churches here in Florida and the Bahamas, they would come and want us to give a special offering to help Edward Waters out. You know what one of the problems was? And this is historical stuff, and it's factual, because I don't believe in the fake stuff. I do my homework. To keep, because they weren't paying the taxes of employees to the IRS like they should have. and, you know, so that kind of stuff, until we start dealing with that, we're going to lose more and more of our kids to these off-the-wall churches, previous cash and carry storefront churches, the whole bit. And what I'm finding out about young people, and a lot of older people too, they understand the difference between religion and spirituality. And when you do that, that means you are in touch with your own soul. Because we all go through trials and tribulations. I mean, we just go through that. We all have shortcomings. There are no perfect people. But a lot of people are finding out now that the church is not even close to the church of old. I had a young man tell me, you talk to me, Mr. Pete, about coming to church and the whole bit, but what's there? You say the doors of the church are always open, but they only open for 4 hours on a Sunday. Can't get no food, can't do this, but then you get mad at me when I go out to the white church off of MLK that bring in buses like Greyhound or whatever to pick up our young kids and all, and you go out there with them, with their philosophy, and they giving away food, and if I bring my bill to them, they will pay it. And I don't want the money, but if I brought my TCO bill to them, I wasn't even a member of the church. They paid it. Of course, they got the other part of it, too, to get you to join and volunteer hours. So that's another difference. So whether it's D.C. or whatever, you go all over the place. A lot of people, young people, especially under 45, aren't even going to church. You know, they're not really going to church. They go online, and they were doing that before the COVID. Now, back locally, I'm looking at this beautiful new edition of In Touch News. They got a full page, June the 4th, the 9th to remember, at the old, with the Manhattans and all like that, in St. Petersburg. Now, in St. Pete, they have a street called 22nd Street, just like we have in Tampa,
Right.
in the hood. Big difference. You look in the Weekly Challenger, you read the Power Broker, which are black media, and then even in the St. Pete Times, they had an article how the Deuces is making a strong comeback. That was a very important black business district in St. Pete, and people lived there in the whole bit. They've been going at it for a while. They called St. Pete, now they used to call it Southside, now they call it Midtown. But in any event, they are rebuilding that area, restaurants. They're even putting in new affordable housing in that area. And with the black mayor they got now, Ken Welch, you don't see more of that. Well, I got news for you. We won't have a black mayor in Tampa for another 16 years because we're fragmented. You look at the people involved and on that street making a difference. People of color from the Caribbean or whatever the case may be, some white progressives, some gay, white, and black, some conservative businessmen who can help you open up doors to get money from the bank. So they're doing all of that. Now compare that to 22nd Street in the hood in Tampa.
It's too different.
Well, a lot of it has to do with our mindset. See, I understand that there's an element of white people who will never accept us as being equal. I understand that. But what I don't understand is what make some of our folks, people of color and black people, think that if they just say nothing, do nothing, and help manipulate stuff that won't benefit us, what make them think that they're going to ever be accepted equal? My great-grandmama will say you'll never get it because people can't trust you.
Right.
So you look at 22nd Street here, you got stores where you got, they used to have a store there that you can go in the back or whatever and buy Viagra, all kind of interesting things.
What you
And,
said, Viagra?
Everything. Everything. Really, everything. You want to buy your package buds, you can do that. Okay?
Okay.
But the rundown areas, it's a different. But one of the key factors with the involvement in both streets is like the city itself and the black community. They're more unified over there than we are here. Now, don't get me wrong. You got the Uhurus. You got a progressive black gay population over there that they do their thing. You got the old line churches. But they understand all for one or all or none at all. So that's why you're seeing the changes. And that's what helped Ken Welch get elected. If you look at him and you look at his track record, as long as he was on the county commission, Ken Welch, dad and them are pioneers in that south side, near the Deuces area, Midtown, whatever they call it now. So he gets it both ways, as a real hood brother and then coming out representing the county all over the place. You look at Tampa, we don't have that cooperation. You have in St. Pete. One of the most interesting highlights I found is that when all different fragments of the black community got together to sue the Pinellas County school system, guess who took one of the lead roles in it? The Uhurus. In fact, what a lot of people don't know, the Uhurus' own attorney, Guy Burns, took the lead, gave a lot of pro bono time to join in with Verl Davis and some of the churches with their educational component and all like that. But after the Come to Jesus meetings and everything else that didn't destroy their own organization purpose and what they want to do to rebuild the community, guess what? They came out as a team to make a difference. You look at what's happening over there with affordable housing, the rent controls and all. They're building a coalition faster, more sturdier than we're doing in Tampa. A tale of two cities. St. Petersburg, for a long time, was considered the stepchild, the black stepchild versus Tampa. But can I tell you something? A lot of that was fake. When you look at some historical steps, big difference. So we're going to take a break straight up the middle.
Yeah.
And we're going to come right back. And when we come back, I'm going to offer a couple of suggestions from a Republican standpoint.
All right.
How we can get strong in Tampa. Because I'm telling you, the way we're going, we represent a lot of other cities. For black people, we're helping the extreme right wing put us back in pre-Reconstruction. That's all I got to say. We'll be right back. Interesting Easter weekend.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and I'm so proud to say I have my very first sponsor for Tampa Bay politics. His name is Sam Cohen of Attorneys First. So if you are an attorney, please give him the opportunity to quote you for errors and omissions insurance. His number is 727-799-4321. That's 727-799-4321.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is attorney Clinton Parrish from the law office of Clinton Parrish. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, attorney Clinton Parrish, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at ParrishLawOffice.com. At the law office of Clinton Parrish, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
All right, everybody, we're back on for our final segment of In Touch Radio News. This is straight up the middle. Don't forget the In Touch newspapers out. You gotta really see it. I can't wait till this culture festival over at Rebirth. That's my man over there, the good Reverend over there, and he's good people. It's right behind Urban there. I can't think of his name right quick, but I know him. He's a real good guy. Okay, we're talking about some issues that we normally don't, our community run from within. This segment is a continuation of what I was pointing out locally. You got two different 22nd Streets. One that's undergoing a total rebirth and realignment in St. Petersburg without all the regentrification. Then you got a 22nd Street in Tampa that the way the property is tied up, there's been no regentrification unless you're counting people of color from the Middle East or what have you. But nothing is going on. But one of the key things, Bezel, is that somehow or another, on major projects, particularly that the way the folks in St. Petersburg got together along with some other groups and voted in a black mayor. You won't see a black mayor in Tampa at least 12 years.
You said 15 last.
Well,
segment.
I
15 and 12.
Well,
12
what,
to 15
I
years.
think when I look at the number of African Americans that are moving into the Tampa Bay area, particularly in Tampa, they're coming in from areas that, whether it's Charlotte, St. Louis, Baltimore, different places, moving up from Miami and whatever,
Right.
even within the Haitian population, they're coming with a mindset that say, hey, wait a minute, we're in the city, we're like maybe 23% in the county, maybe almost 30% now and growing, but their mindset is different. They understand that they're going to have a coalition, but what they can't figure out is why in a city, both cities been, well, particularly in Tampa, totally Democratic for as long as anybody can remember within the city. Now, the county has changed the last 6 years or whatever. Why is the black community so far behind? Why? And then they look at where is the black coalition to help develop their own neighborhoods. You don't have it. So one of the things is that if they can get together the different groups, NAACP, the Uhurus, this group, that group, and they have their come to Jesus meeting, and they got young people tied in it. Yes, the crime rate is an issue with the guns. That's all over the place. But when you're talking about economic development, rebuilding historic neighborhoods, the whole bit, what the hell's wrong with Tampa? And it's a different mindset. What I found out over the years here is that we let personalities get in the way. There's a school of thought that if you're not cum laude in something and that kind of stuff, or you're not in a fraternity or sorority, you have no leadership skills. So therefore, you can't sit down with people who got common sense skills and street skills to match your leadership skills to make a difference. It happens. That's reality point of it. But in St. Pete, they've woken up and say, hey, we all got our shortcomings, but that Tropicana site made everybody wake up and say, hey, this will never happen again. So then they go out and recruit some conservatives who believe in civil rights and got money to back their belief. They go out and they may get a progressive group or two who understand, I call them the new hippies, but they understand that their kids, they're dating everybody, white, black, Muslim, Korean, it doesn't matter. The kids, so hey, I got grandkids coming. I got to make sure it's safe. I got to make sure that they have something that's multicultural. This is the real thing. Well, you don't have that. You just don't have it in our hometown of Tampa. And then so what you have is fragmentation all over the place. And when you look at why we're so behind in Tampa, you can't blame it on the Republicans. It's always been a Democratic city. Latinos get together, be more powerful. They used to joke about political rallies that had hot beer and cold fish. But at least the black community at that time had an effective voter coalition. Now you got people who are eligible to vote. You got people through the Florida Restoration Rights, Connie Burton and all those, that are paying your fees and fines so you can vote. But young people don't want to vote. In fact, I'm going to leave something with you in our audience for the weekend. And we need to pray for forgiveness for them. I was out, and they were trying to get some people, we were talking about voting and all during this off-year election and all. 2 comments that have haunted me for the whole week. If I'm not getting a check, then I'm not going to vote. So they got these stimulus money now, but because their mindset, they think they ought to get another check from Joe Biden. They don't get that, they're not going to vote. Then the other thing was, why vote? Nobody listens. But when you vote, you have to take something with it. Your own verbal skills or whatever to say, hey, I'm a part of this community. You just can't vote and don't do anything but just wait till the day of election and vote. You don't study the issues the whole bit. So it's a crazy type thing. But when I look at St. Pete and Tampa, and I look at the 22nd Streets, one, the Deuces is coming back stronger than ever. The other Deuces in 22nd in Tampa is when they going to do something about it. When. No, you don't wait. You don't wait. And you, like I said, in Tampa, St. Pete used to be a Republican city. Then it moved to moderate Republican. Now it's more of a progressive city, but it's a combination of old and new, that kind of stuff. Tampa, all Democratic, but guess what? We still can't elect but one black school board member. And it's a whole bunch of stuff. So what has kept us down here is the same people that we thought that white liberals was our friend and all. No, they may be friends with the black women voters or black women, but not necessarily the black community as a whole. And as we close out today, a couple of weeks ago, I was one of 2 African-American men, and a total of 10 of us, including 8 women, applied for that interim city council seat. I got to tell our audience this. After the vote was made, and it went to, I believe, a lady, ACLU lady, whatever, the sisters and their supporters were in the city council chambers. They hollered out loud, black women are in power now. We're not going to have this happen again. Black women are going to take over. Didn't acknowledge yours truly and the other black gentlemen that had the courage to still apply, even though council outright said we wanted a woman this time around because they were tired of the bad publicity. And I wondered to myself as I walked to my car, have we gotten so out of whack in Tampa that the sisters can stand up there and see 2 qualified brothers, myself and another guy, previous county commissioner, previous city council and everything, and right there around us and say, hey, black women going to run Tampa. Black women going to run Hillsborough County. That told me that as far as a black man trying to get support from black women in politics, it's over. I was hurt by it. Not so much personally, the thing about it personally, hey, we had the courage to speak too, and we would have been happy if a black woman had been chosen. But to be right there jumping up and down, and we right there and don't acknowledge us or basically write us off that black women are going to rule, what does that say for the community? That tells me that no matter how qualified a black man is, the way the political climate is in Tampa, and the so-called progressive bent and all, in particular among the sisters, that they're not going to even reach out to brothers to help them achieve the goal. And what is the real goal? Improving our community, making a difference in our community, teaching the ones that are coming behind us what we need to do as a coalition within the community. So until next week, I was peaceful today. But don't forget, pick up the In Touch News, man. I hope Daryl's going to have donuts to every 3 of these events. But anyway, we'll see you again. Listen to all the other stuff on In Touch Radio News. And God willing, Clint will be back next week, and we'll be ready to go with Bezel and everybody, and we're good. See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's 2 o'clock and we're still going. I can't get enough of your loving.